Well, this is Business Live. We'll stay on the Arise Ghana demonstration where we'll engage Joy News correspondent Maxwell Agwagba, who is currently on the ground, especially to have a scene of what exactly will be the impact of the business community there. We do know that this is home, a hub of brisk business activity within the central business district of Accra. So we shall cross over shortly to give you the business twist of how developments are panning out at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. In the meantime, government has established a formal engagement with the International Monetary Fund over the possibility of signing up for a program. Ahead, we'll engage a professor of finance on how to deal with the associated conditionalities if government decides to consider the fund for a bailout. Also, e-levy was poorly designed and needs review. The assessment of former Finance Minister Seth Terkper as tax policy brings in only 10% of estimated review. Of course, tax partner Deloitte Ghana, George Ankuma, also says that it is early days yet.
Policy has been implemented. I think that it's important that we monitor for some time to be able to make a meaningful conclusion and not be in a rush just for 2 months it has not been yielding the expected revenue.
And we shall take you to the KJTR market where there's good news. It has been reconnected to the national grid after payment of 20% debt owed the electricity company of Ghana.
So yesterday they came back again and then they brought a check for the first payment of the 20%. So hopefully by close of work today, we'll reconnect them.
I'm Charles Ayitey. Stay for details. It's been a demonstration marked by violence and chaos. We have shown you disturbing photos from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle where the Arise Ghana demonstration has been, reduced to what you're seeing currently. Destruction and chaos. Of course, we have seen the police try to, disperse the protests, and we have also seen the protesters fight back at the police, pelting stones at them. We have recorded issues of, injuries on the side of both sides of the police and the protesters as well. But all of this is panning out of concerns raised regarding the high cost of doing business in Ghana, the high cost of living, high fuel prices, and the escalating cost standard of living as we speak in the country. As we're speaking as well, the government is also, having some contemplation about whether or not to revisit an IMF program. All these and more are the major concerns driving the protest by the Arise Ghana demonstration on the streets at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. Thankfully, we have our man Maxwell Agwagba on the ground to help us understand what the impact currently lie when it comes to doing business along the side and the traffic situation in that nature. So Maxwell, if you could hear me, brief us on updates regarding what is happening currently on the scene. We shall try and fix the line with Maxwell Agwagba, but you could see live pictures from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. I think we have Maxwell back to give us updates on what's happening.
You find people doing business, but as it stands right now, that hustle and bustle that you usually would find, the beehive of activity that you usually would find around this time, productive hours, it's a bit missing, partially missing. Partially missing because at some point in time, like I was reporting earlier, police actually fired tear gas to disperse protesters who were protesting right in the middle of the road directly under the Circle interchange. Now, when that tear gas was fired, many of the people who were around couldn't withstand it. The camera team from Joy News, we had to run for cover. Many of the people, sellers, who were doing business on the side of the road had to run with their wares. Some of them, as it stands right now, have run back and have not returned. Some of the businesses very close within this circle enclave where the protesters had been gathered right from morning. Some of them we've been interacting with here tell us that they were unable to do any meaningful business today. So those who sell water, those who sell drinks, cold drinks and all of that, they tell us that the business was okay, business was fine, because they had the hundreds of demonstrators, many of them coming to grab a bottle of water, some of them bottle of drinks, to quench their thirst. But for those who do not fall within this bracket, many of them were affected by the demonstration. A man who I spoke to earlier, who operates an electrical shop just about 50 meters away from where I'm standing, told me that he came to the shop as early as 9 o'clock a.m. and usually he closes at exactly 10 p.m. But he says today he's had to close his shop because of the chaos and because of how chaotic the protest has been so far. Many of the protesters, some of them pelting the police with stones. Let's show you some of these stones that they were throwing. You can see some of them here. And if you can see this police crowd control vehicle, you can see some of the dust, from the rocks that were thrown, on this police crowd control vehicle. So some of the business owners we've been speaking to tell us that it was a pretty much dangerous situation, for them. It was dangerous for them to work. And many tell us that they feared that their shops could be looted, or some of the protesters would actually come and vent their anger, on them. So they've had to close very early today. So for many parts of the Circle Interchange area, where you usually find very busy activities going on, usually around this time of the day, that is partially absent now, and the entire street has actually been taken over by personnel of the Ghana Police Service. You can see many of them still here, many also deployed to the ground also to ensure that there's peace, here. About an hour ago, hundreds of protesters were gathered right in the middle of the road protesting. They had organizers of the demonstration, addressing them, and that created some kind of gridlock on this main circle stretch. And for the top of the interchange, for those going directly to the Central Business District, it was a bumper-to-bumper traffic situation because some of the protesters had run to the top of the interchange, to seek cover. And in the process, they blocked the traffic in the process. Just some meters away from where I'm standing, we had thick black smoke, billowing right from the middle of the road. If we get there, you will see the suit still right in the middle of the road. Usually the traffic flow, as you can see right now, you see vehicle moving faster than they are moving now. Now they have to go a bit slow. There's some kind of, not really a bad traffic situation, but they have to move a bit slow because personnel of the Ghana Police Service have taken a section of the road. They've mounted some of their crash, barriers and a checkpoint, actually, I should say, right in the middle of the road, trying to still control the situation because they say some of the protesters are still lurking around and they are doing everything possible to push them back. So for business owners within the Circle enclave, for those who sell water, for those who sell drinks, it has been a good day of business for them because thousands of people gathered here at Circle to join the protest. So they made a lot of money. For those who do not fall within this bracket, who fall outside the bracket of water, cold drink, for them it has been a very slow business day for them. Many of them compelled by the situation to close their shops and go home because of how fast the situation was degenerating. Police, like I mentioned, fired tear gas many times. We were tear gas in the middle of our report. We had to rush into a home nearby to seek cover and pour water on our face and return here. Many of the sellers here tell us that they cannot withstand that and they fear that they may lose their capital or lose their money in the process. So they left, closed their shops and went home, Charles. So really that is the situation here, but we can still see some of the protesters, around here where the protest happened, Charles.
Streets have been open to traffic early on, as Maxwell rightly stated, the entire place was gridlocked. Police had to cordon off the area to contain the protesters. But in all of this, we are picking up the theme of the harsh conditions, the harsh economic conditions that protesters are really raging about. And joining me via Zoom to expound the conversation around the IMF bailout, because this is what government is currently considering, is an associate professor of finance at the Andrews University Business School, USA, Dr. William. We're grateful, Doc, that you could join us. First of all, you have seen the videos, you have seen the live pictures. What do you make of the ongoing protests and its impact on Ghana's business environment, the signals being sent out there?
Thank you very much, Charles, for calling me this hour. So what is really happening now in terms of demonstration is a result of citizens in Ghana who are not happy about how the financial situation of the country is being positioned. So, and all this has come, we have gotten to this point because of our balance of payment, which is not very solid, and whereby it's having a lot of exchange rate impact on our currency, let it be being devalued. And as a result, prices are going up in terms of inflation. And then when it becomes a point that the income of citizens are not able to meet their basic needs, not wants, needs, you realize that citizens will get to the demonstrating part. Indeed, this could have been prevented should government have listened to some of us somewhere last year when we realized that the country was experiencing some liquidity challenges. Government tried to address the liquidity challenges by introducing the e-levy tax to bring in revenue, and most of us advocated for government raising revenue. But we realized that, and also mentioned, that the e-levy is not bringing in as much as is needed. So what it really means is that government may have to think out of the box. And looking at our debt levels now, it is not a proper or prudent measure for government to go and borrow at non-concessionary rate or high interest rate. It is time government look at where he can get funds cheaper to come and shore up the depleting international our net reserves. So the best option for us as a country and where we find ourselves is rather to go to IMF, where we are members of the fund, and they can give us loan or non-concessionary loan or concessionary loan at a very reduced interest rate. And even sometimes you'll be able to argue well, attach some pro-poor programs to our negotiation. IMF may decide to give the loans to us without any interest payments. And then also, IMF may also consider to give us a long period of time to make the repayment plan, which gives Ghana a room to be able to operate. So this is where we find ourselves as a country, and I think that as government is considering, they may have to think fast, take the decision faster than was decided planned, and because it is noticed that getting money into the country to show up our reserves is becoming a challenge in that taxes are going to be reduced, which will affect the whole economy, and government must act faster.
If we could step back some few weeks ago, we heard the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah, make known to George Riafi, our colleague at Joy Business, that the condition of revisiting an IMF program will be if government's homegrown policies fail. And of course, we are seeing currently, Gabia Ochudako, a close confidant of the president, make it quite known through social media that this is going to be a best alternative that government must take. From your perspective as a professor in finance, what do you make of government homegrown policies so far? Do you assess the fact that it has failed and the need for us to visit an IMF program, or you think there is more to be done in shoring up the competitiveness or effectiveness of these homegrown policies?
Yeah, thank you. So, I think if I remember very well, the minister program, one angle looked at the revenue generation, and that was when the minister was relying on the e-levy to bring in almost, for now, about 600 million, which we have not been able to raise that according to Gabi. We had only about 10% of that amount. The second option of the plan by government was that government was going to reduce expenditure items by 20%. So the question that we ask ourselves is, what were the line items that government was going to reduce? Is it going to be salaries? Was it going to be interest payment? These two, which are difficult for government to touch. So what we realized was the government was either going to defer some programs, which the minister admitted that some programs were going to be deferred, and the president confirmed it by saying that Agenda 111 was going to be deferred for a period of 3 years instead of using a 1-year plan to make that project.
But of course, this also brings to fore, Professor, issues about the associated conditionalities that come with an IMF program. How do you advise government goes about, this particular development if it indeed settles on the bailout?
So my advice is that we should know that IMF does not solve futuristic problems. They solve problems that are now and current. So now what the problem for government is that we need money to shore up our international reserves to to sustain our currency. So government in terms of may have to go with its own plan and tell IMF that this is what we want to do. All that we need you to do is that guide us, give us some money to bring confidence into the economy so that our international partners will help us to sustain our operations as a country. So government should not wait for IMF to tell them what to do. They already have a plan. They already have a homegrown program. They might have to polish it very well in such a way that it will be in a way that brings physical discipline and then also reduce some unwarranted spending that will take us off gear or out of budget. In that case, IMF will just help us to monitor our budget. In the case of Kenya, similarly, that's what happened. Kenya went with its own program, its own budget, and then requested IMF to guide them in terms of giving them advice, and the IMF gave them $2.34 billion for a 36 months program. Government may also, already we have a program running.
Indeed.
We just need to take our program to them and tell them that this is what we want to do.
And let's see how things play out. Unfortunately, we could have this discussion, but we're pressed for time. But we're grateful for your submission, Professor Williams Kwesi Pepra, an associate professor of finance at the Andrews University Business School in the United States of America. We shall also keep an eye on development at Circle, where the Arise Ghana demonstration is currently brewing, to give you updates in our subsequent bulletins. But that'll be it for Business Live. I'm Charles Ayitey, and of course, let's play you international business news, after which we bid goodbye.